I'm Jeremy White, and I think we assess trades on whether or not they deserve sunglasses or not. And I can't decide if this one does.
I'm Joe Marino, and as a dynasty owner of DJ Moore, I'm very excited.
I'm the big O Jerry Ostroski. I'm starting to wonder if our general manager isn't James Taylor, because Carolina always seems to be on Brandon Beane's mind. This is the Locked On Network, and you're watching Bill Squad.
Who's ready, Bills Mafia? It's the Bills Squad. Everything Buffalo Bills, every week. Breaking down the big hits and game-changing plays the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So gear up and squad up. The Bills Squad show starts now.
Welcome in, Bills Mafia. It is the Bills Squad show. Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the big O, Jerry Ostroski. I got to fix my camera here. We're streaming live on YouTube as we always do. You can join us on YouTube every time we do this show. Comment along with us. Join us. We do it twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. We had joked at the last show that on Monday we might get some breaking news with the start of the league year and the legal tampering period. And sure enough, we get it today as the Bills have made a major move. They've acquired DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears. They trade their second-round pick for DJ Moore and a fifth. And we will talk all about what it means, the fit, the position addressed, and all the fallout of it. Because first we got the deal, then we got let's see what the compensation is. And it feels like, Joe, at that moment, maybe some people turned on this idea, a second-round pick for Moore and a fifth.
I like DJ Moore. He's a good football player that obviously elevates the Bills' offense. It elevates the receiver room. He's a good route runner, wins at all levels of the field, good yards after catch player. The part of the trade that's hard for me is what the Bills gave up, a second-round pick, number 60 overall, for a player that is entering his age 29 season. And, of course, the contract piece that is very complicated. The Bills are basically taking on a contract that is essentially a 3-year deal that is $73.5 million with a lot of that guaranteed. So they gave up quite a bit here, and obviously we'll see how it plays out. And he could certainly come in and be a highly productive player for the Bills, but it hasn't been that good of a story to tell over the last couple of seasons with Chicago. And I'm sure part of that is the two different offenses over the last 2 years, Caleb Williams and some of his growing pains. There's been some accuracy issues there as well, but it feels like a hefty price to pay when you're considering the contract and the age.
Exactly. I mean, we're bringing in a player that is, maybe been on the decline a bit, and we continue to make the comments where it's hard to build a roster when you got Josh Allen's contract on the books, but yet we just brought a player in and gave up a second-round pick for $15 million guaranteed in 2026, another $24 million guaranteed in 2027. You just lit a second-round pick on fire. That's at a position group that we've seemed to have acquired a lot of hefty contracts with minimal production. It's a little bit hard to swallow a little bit. I mean, this is something you really have to look at and hope that DJ Moore can regain his form with a coach and a group that he's familiar with from Carolina.
It's kind of wild, guys. Like you guys know me. I'm all about this position, this conversation. I'm just in my head running through some of the math. Again, we're all kind of reacting freshly to this. The Bills have in the first 4 rounds of the draft. Let's go first 3 rounds. First 3 rounds of the draft, the entire Brandon Beane era. The draft picks are Keon Coleman. The trades are Diggs, Calvin Benjamin, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. He has shown that he'd rather get someone that's been established, whether that's a deadline move, Band-Aid move. Like, he does not fundamentally want to do it early. I want to say he doesn't respect the position to draft early enough, but he does respect it enough to get Band-Aids. So, like, to that point, and this is a very key point for me, I said to you guys last week, this exact move would be one I would need to be talked into. I was like, DJ Moore, you have to talk me into that idea, because I feel like it could go down the Amari Cooper road, which is, it looks like he doesn't have it anymore. He could age out quickly. But I'll say this, like my positive spin on it is this. It's a Band-Aid. The Bills do need a Band-Aid. I also thought they can't just draft a guy and hope that he comes in and answers all their questions. I wanted Evans, A.J. Brown. If DJ Moore is that guy, I get that. My fear, though, is by spending the second that I'm going to go through another draft without addressing this position to try to build it from where it should be built. It is unbelievably expensive, this position, and we're seeing why it's so expensive again. So can I like that they have this player, but still feel very concerned that the lessons have not been learned yet? Like, to me, that's bad news.
Jeremy, it's exactly why I was in on Mike Evans as kind of the big fish at receiver, or even, I mean, honestly, Romeo Doubs, because you don't have to also give up the draft capital, right? That's the piece to this. It's cap dollars and a pretty high draft pick invested into this player. And given the amount of needs that the Bills have, it didn't make sense for me to dump all of that into the answer at wide receiver. So it's not the move I would make. If it was a 4th round pick, okay, all right. You restructure the contract, you get the first year down to a $6.7 million cap hit, and you can stomach that. But the second round price tag plus what they guaranteed into the future, all right, there's some head scratching elements to that.
I think that's the biggest thing is what you had to give up to get them. And I understand they're going to redo the contract. They'll make it more team friendly, free up some space and all that. You hope that DJ Moore can continue to be the player that he has been in the past. I mean, I like his skill set. I like the fact that he can win on all 3 levels. I like that he gets off a man. He's very well-rounded. As he can play inside, he can play outside. He can do all those things. There's a lot to like about DJ Moore. But I think we go back again, like we've talked about, the draft capital. How do you get out of the situation you're in? By drafting players with rookie contracts. And for whatever reason in that room, we don't like to do it too much. We did it a couple years ago, and obviously it bit us. Well, I say that. I mean, I guess you could say that the project is incomplete. We don't know what's going to happen with Keon Coleman, but we've got a pretty good idea over the first 2 years. So, you know, it's just how you look at it. But a second round pick's a lot. It's a lot with this franchise and the situation they're in.
The skill set, like, all right, let's table that conversation for a minute, because people tuning in want to know, like, all right, we get it. It might have been a hefty price. Maybe this is just a year where it's a seller's market and Antonio Brown does go for a 1st and a 3rd. If that happens, you might feel better about it because you didn't want to give up a 1st and a 3rd for AJ Brown. And Alec Pierce, does he get like $32 million on the market? You never know. Like the market still has to happen. So we can have a better idea when we get more context. How about the fit? Like DJ Moore has been, here's where it fits. He's an outside guy. Like that guy plays outside. I think this last year was the highest percentage of snaps he'd ever had in the slot at 32%. He's never gone north of 27% before that. So you get finally an outside guy. Part of me wonders if Moore isn't what they thought Keon Coleman would be, right? Big, physical, strong. Like when you watch Moore play, he's of that mold of, he's like a power guy. He's powerful. He's fast. He beats guys over the top. There's separation. He scored. He produced in the playoffs for them. He was a part of their offense, and they had a lot of mouths to feed. But Joe, how do you like it for fit in terms of what he adds that they don't have? I don't think anyone would dispute. He does add some things that they don't have.
I really like the player, right? That's the part of this conversation that I'm glad you're bringing us back to, Jeremy, because I've been a big fan of DJ Moore going back to when he was in college. He was my top receiver coming out of Maryland. I loved the season that he had. He was the only Big Ten receiver that year that had 1,000 yards receiving. And Maryland was down to like their 3rd quarterback by the 2nd game of the season. And he was just a baller out there. And he is a physical player. And don't confuse that as he's not explosive. He's got a lot of juice to him. But he does have that physical element that's required to play on the perimeter, right? The Bills need the outside receivers. And, well, what you have to be able to do on the outside is play through contact and deal with press coverage and, you know, those aggressive corners early in the routes. And he can certainly do that. And he has appeal to all levels of the field. There's a vertical element. He's been an amazing yards after catch player. And he's got some impressive ball skills where there's body control and just the ability to go up and get it. His drop rate, I don't have it. I guarantee you it's low. You can look it up. I guarantee it's a very low drop rate. He catches everything. And so there's a lot to love about the skill set. And yeah, the Bills need it, right? Like the Bills needed help at receiver. They get help. There's no question. I don't think we should be questioning the skill set, the fit, the player, DJ Moore, the person. I think he'd come in and do everything. It's really the price tag that, I hate to keep bringing it back to that because that's the souring element of it. But yeah, I love the player. I think he's going to be awesome for the Bills.
I agree. I love this. I love the player as well. I think he do a lot of things. One of the things that I love about DJ Moore and his 8-year career, let's go through his seasons and his availability.
Yeah.
16 games played, 15 games, 15, 17, 17, 17. He plays. He's not in the hot tub, right? He's not in the training room. He's on the field playing. And at that position, with what we've had lately, this guy's got to be available, and he's shown that he has durability, and he is available. So I agree. I like the player. I like the skill set. I think he brings a lot to it. But are we getting to the point, fellas, where it doesn't matter if it's DJ Moore, if it's Dobbs, if it's whoever, this is what you're going to have to give up to get one of these guys?
I think it's a good point, Jerry. And right now we are very early, right? The tampering doesn't even start till Monday. If Romeo Doubs goes for $25 million, if Pierce tops 30, if AJ Brown goes for a 1 and a 3, we might have to come back and say, well, I guess that's just how it's going to be. And maybe this doesn't feel as bad, but that has to play out. And it might. Mike Evans could go for $25 million a season. We'll see.
This is like buying a car from somebody in your family. You know they've owned it, right? You know what that car is about, how it's been treated, the oil's been changed, the tire's been rotated, it's been washed and kept clean, right? You got to look at it this way too. This Carolina thing, I joked about it, but you look at Beane. If I want to make this investment, maybe I make it with somebody that I'm pretty familiar with, and I'm not as worried about getting burned on, so to speak. So you got to look at it that way as well.
One talking point here, and Jeremy, you're on mute, but I wanted to make sure I put this out there. DJ Moore, as we've established, he's entering his age 29 season. I do wonder how much Brandon Beane felt it necessary to get a receiver that is comparable in age to Josh Allen. Keon Coleman is super, super young, right? And I'm sure that they have very different interests, right? Just based on the age gap, right? Just they may not connect. And I think about I was actually at an event that Steve Smith was at, former Carolina Panthers receiver. And he took questions from people. And one of the questions that he was asked was, what'd you think about Cam Newton whenever he was drafted to Carolina? And you could tell he was being very choosy with how he talked about it. He says, let me just tell you this. He says, I'm 30-year-old man. This is a kid that we just drafted. I got a wife and kids. And, we just didn't have a lot of things in common. And, he's like, that took away from our ability to really develop chemistry. And then eventually, Steve Smith moves on and Carolina goes in a different direction. I just wonder if they felt like getting someone that's more comparable in age to Josh Allen was something that they cared about and who they chose to go after at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I like that point. An adult, he's worked with Joe Brady before. Of course, the Carolina connection is not just like Beane. It's also, of course, Joe Brady. But to that point, Joe, I thought Beane would feel a lot of pressure to address it on a level where he wouldn't be questioned. And he might have done that. Mission accomplished. If they go into the year and they don't draft another one, which I think is now possible, maybe they add another bit guy. If I don't know if it's Christian Kirk or whatever, somebody cheap. They could add another free agent. And they go
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks, right? He wants to come back. Brandon Cooks. Okay.
Right.
Brandon Cooks. I feel like they could go to the year with that group and it wouldn't be the same as it has been. Moore gives them a level of credibility, a little bit like Amari Cooper did when they made that trade. And, he's kind of put that to the side and maybe now can focus his entire offseason on the defense and what to do with Connor McGovern and what to do about David Edwards. But the veteran receiver that they wouldn't be asking a kid out of college to save us and our expectations are really high. It's DJ Moore, who just was in Chicago. They played important playoff games. He had a big catch in that playoff game, of course. He's been through a lot in the NFL, and the moment won't be too big for him. Whereas, Jerry, if they're rocking Casey Concepcion as their top guy, from the offseason. Maybe he could do it. I like the kid a lot, but I might wonder the pressure and all that's going to come with this position, with this team, which has become such a focal point for a lot of people around the league.
We've said for quite some time that even if they get a young guy, we want a veteran to be there as well. Didn't think this was a situation where you just draft one rookie and you can get out of the situation in the wide receiver room like we've had the last few years. Not going to happen. You needed experience to go with it. And we've got that now with DJ Moore. If you bring a young guy in, maybe you have now a mentor for that young guy, something you need to look at, folks. DJ Moore's agent, Drew Rosenhaus. Keon Coleman's agent, I believe, is Drew Rosenhaus. So there's some familiarity there as well. So, you're going to hear this stuff eventually out of the front office at One Bills Drive. I'm sure at some point in time we'll find out that Josh Allen did extensive film study of DJ Moore and loves him, right? I mean, we know the narrative that's coming. We know what's coming. But I will say this. I love his durability. In his period of playing in the NFL, had one stretch where he's never played lower than 80% of the snaps in a season. Okay, that was 2020 when he missed a couple of games. I mean, his last 3 years, he's gone 90%, 88, and 84%, which has been a bit of a decline, but still well over 80% of the snaps. You got to really like that, especially with how we've been burned in the wide receiver room with guys being on, in the training room all the time.
Jeremy, that's a good call out about the magnitude of what was necessary and then maybe not wanting a kid to come in and have to do that.
Right.
Because that's what they did with Keon.
Yes.
Was he 21 years old? If you remember, he plays in Arizona, his NFL debut, 73% of the snaps. The next week against Miami, 91%. Then what happens? He gets benched, right, for the beginning of that Jacksonville game. But very quickly, he's 31% in that game. Then he's right back to 72%. He was very quickly, okay, you're young. We need you. Do the thing. And that's where this past season, once that was happening again, I'm like, what has he done to earn this? And maybe that's a big lesson learned and now applied here for Brandon Beane.
Right. There's definitely historical evidence that shows it hasn't worked, and especially with a strong presence at quarterback and one that rarely gets blamed for anything. Yes, you can see why this would be the move. That is a great call out, Jeremy. Very good. Very good.
How long until we hear? I'm kind of half joking here. Josh wanted this move. Will we get that? Will they say that? They like to give the old, Josh really liked this idea as, the ringing endorsement, which is fine. We'll see what he thinks about it eventually, of course. The Bills acquired DJ Moore. They make their splash trade here, acquiring Moore for a second-round pick. We'll get a break in. We'll discuss more about this move, how the room shapes out from here, but also I'll be interested to hear you guys' thoughts on how the draft changes for them without a number 2 pick, without a second-round pick. Could trading down be something that more Bills fans want now because they'll want to add more picks now that they've lost a high one? They lost a 2. They get a 5 back, though. So it's a pick slide, amounts to about a third-round pick. So how the draft is different without that second-round pick coming up here on the Bill Squad Show.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
We're back on the Bill Squad Show. Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the big O, Jerry Ostroski, reacting to the DJ Moore acquisition. I did see one thing about this I wanted to bring up with you guys, because for Moore, so he's one of 5 players over the last 5 seasons. It's an ESPN stat. And I think once we get to this, we get to the idea of what Moore could be and what this offense could be. All right. He's one of 5 players with 50 catches or more on throws of 20 air yards or more over the last 5 seasons. Here's the list: CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens. He's number 5. So if the Bills are putting DJ Moore into this offense with the idea of now we're going to get our vertical target back, this is a guy who has as many catches of 20 air yards or more as those 4 guys in the last 5 seasons, provided he has the juice left. Like, the idea of Moore becoming that part of their offense, I think everybody'd sign up just to get anything on this team that would bring that part of the offense back, the 20 air yard throws. Last year's Bills were last in the league in air yards per target. Like, they've become a dink and dunk team, and I think a lot of us want to see them open it up. And Moore spoke with Matt Harmon at the draft or at the combine and talked about Joe Brady maybe opening it up this year, which might have been something to foretell this trade. So is that obviously another, I'm going to say silver lining here, is that probably the goal for what they can get, is that they get their big, huge punch back of the deep ball.
You know what's interesting about that is the quarterbacks. And this is one of my favorite things about DJ Moore is all the different quarterbacks he's played with. I mean, it's Caleb Williams' first 2 seasons where accuracy's been a massive issue, even this year. It's Justin Fields 3 years ago, and then it's the last 2 years in Carolina where it was Darnold and Mayfield, which at the time those were not that good of players. And then Darnold and Cam Newton the year before that. So being able to produce down the field with that many different quarterbacks throwing the football to him is pretty impressive.
Definitely. I think it'll be an interesting concept to see how he fits and gets familiar with Josh Allen, because obviously, you got Rome Odunze and what is it, Luther Burden that are at Chicago, and they had a chance to move DJ Moore, but he never really seemed to get in sync with Caleb Williams, who's kind of not one of those timing type quarterbacks. So what I'm saying, what I'm getting at. It'll be interesting to see how he fits with Josh Allen, who's really not one of those timing type quarterbacks. So we'll see how that whole thing rolls.
Yeah. By the way, that drop rate is 5.5% for his career, which is a tremendous drop rate. Very good. Yeah.
So on why Moore could be the odd man out in Chicago, there's a couple of reasons. One, they've drafted 2 young studs in Rome Odunze and Luther Burden, but you guys kind of laid it out there a little bit. Of all the coaches, offensive coaches that that might be maniacal in their details, is Ben Johnson at the top. Like, if you got a receiver that is a little bit artistic with the routes, which I think is something you hear about DJ Moore, like, he might not be the most detail-oriented guy. Meanwhile, what does Josh want? Like you said it, Jerry. Like, Josh wants guys to just get open. Ben Johnson might want the half-yard line to be right on where you're doing things, because he's the super genius. So maybe that's what ultimately leads to his departure in Chicago and gets him here to Buffalo, where he can be the big bucket target when Josh is making things happen.
Yeah, I think he does. He will fit into all those things. And like I think we've talked about, it's obvious that this is a player that I think will be advantageous for the Bills this upcoming season and hopefully a couple more down the road. It's just what they had to give up to get him. But another part of this whole trade I think that's funny is, obviously you talk about Luther Burden, you talk about Rome Odunze, they got 2 young guys, so DJ Moore becomes expendable. But then the Bears open up a wealth of cap space, and what do they need? Well, they all of a sudden need a starting center because theirs just retired in Dahlman. So maybe the Bills help the Bears create space so that they can then go after our starting center as well, and Connor McGovern. So that's something to look at also.
So the draft fallout, guys, this is one part where part of my disappointment would be, again, I'm happy they got a receiver. I was hoping it was not a 2nd-round pick. I would have liked it to be, a 4th or a 5th or something like that, but it ends up being a 2nd. What does this do to the 1st round? What does this do to the other rounds? I know other free agents, of course, like, we've got so much more to figure out here. But if there were a needle swinging back and forth, offense or defense with your 1st-round pick, I feel like, for me, that needle just swung boldly to the defense. They're going to get a linebacker. They're going to get somebody for this defense that they want to be a difference maker, because they, of course, view Moore as a difference maker. Last year's 2nd-round pick is TJ Sanders. Like, we're still kind of waiting on anything to materialize there. And here they said, difference maker for the offense with the second round pick, I'd imagine that first round pick is difference maker on the defensive side.
Are they going to pick in the first round? I think that's my thought about this. The Bills give up pick 60, and I think that's worth pointing out. It's not like a high second round pick. It's very much towards the end of the second round. So that's worth noting here in this conversation. But I sense that Brandon Beane always has this desire to recoup what he gave up. And I can see him wanting to move back right from 26 and maybe get into the late 30s, early 40s and, get back a 3 and a 5 or something like that. I think I can see a world where he trades out of the first round and tries to recoup some of this draft capital, especially given the amount of needs that this team has, right? That's a situation where they have so many boxes to check, and now you've taken away one of your best assets to check a box. Well, how do you use your other assets to get the assets back? I think a trade out of 26 is, I'll stop short of saying it's my expectation, but I would not be surprised.
I think there's enough players at that outside edge spot as well in this draft. It's loaded up with a bunch of guys that are probably second and third round type guys. If you can move out of 26 and assure yourself that you're in the upper half of the second round, like we did with the Keon Coleman move, I think you can get a difference maker early in the second round. So it wouldn't surprise me if Beane does that to acquire more picks, because I think this is a middle of the draft heavy year. I think second, third, fourth round, even fifth round, picking up that extra fifth in this trade will help. There's a lot of depth there, especially at the lines and a little bit of that outside, rush end position. So I wouldn't doubt if they don't do that because of the amount of talent that's there in those areas.
Well, Daniel Jeremiah put out a tweet a couple hours ago, said, I see the sweet spot in this draft between 50 and 75. There are going to be a bunch of solid starters in that range. The edge rusher, corner, or wide receiver you get at 75 will be graded almost identically to the one you get at 45. So maybe you try to get a couple of picks in that range.
Right.
You did just trade a pick right in that range, too, for DJ Moore.
Like, they did, but they got DJ Moore, Jeremy White.
I know. Listen, it's one of the things about this spot that they're in, and we had somebody in the chat say you couldn't pay me to be Brandon Beane. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that might be right to a point. Like I get that, because he wants to sustain what they're doing while also breaking through the proverbial wall, right? Like I got to win one. I also want to keep being good. And those sometimes can be tough things to marry together. So, is my favorite idea DJ Moore? No, I told you guys I need to be talked into it, but now it's happened, and I'm glad the GM has addressed a glaring hole. Moore, I don't need fantasy football numbers. What do I need? Really? I mean, it's a small thing. What do I need? I need when they're in the AFC Championship game and it's 3rd and 10, that I got a guy, Josh is going to call the plays. He's like, I want you to run over here and throw it to that dude that catches everything, and he gets open. That really is all I need from him. So numbers-wise, like whatever. Hope they have a good season. Hope they're the number 1 seed. Hope we're talking AFC Championship game. But their margins have been so small. Like they need a play in big moments, and that's something like I just saw a tweet on this moments ago. Like Moore does deliver in those spots, and he has for his career. He's made big plays in big spots, and that's what they need. They need a guy to catch the Brandon Cooks ball and hold on to it through the catch.
How about that game winner against the Packers?
Yeah.
This is unbelievable play.
Yeah.
Jeremy, when we had this conversation last week and the segment was, I'll have to be talked into, when you decided for your answer to be DJ Moore, what was your expectations for what a trade would look like, and how much different is that than what it actually became?
I thought they'd give up like a 6th.
Wow.
I thought it would be a 5th or a 6th, because you took on a huge contract. I think,
right.
Listen, Bills fans, you can love this player, and there's reason to love the skill set and what he can do. Look at the reaction around the league. The league cannot believe the Bills gave up a 2nd to pick up that contract. They kind of can't believe it. And the addition that they guaranteed him money into 2028, like you've got a guy that has a lot of tread on the tire. And if fast forward to whatever, the summer next year or the trade deadline, like why don't the Bills have cap space? The answer is going to be because they just traded free labor, cheap labor, 2nd rounder for a massive contract. He's the 2nd highest paid player on the team, I think, by AAV now, which is fine. Like he will be required to produce. Even though I'm sitting here saying I only need to, the playoff spots and big spots, I wonder if Man, whatever. There's a million things going around in my head because this DJ Moore idea was just not my favorite, but I'm still glad they did it. Here's the good news, guys. Real quick. Here's the good news. Josh Allen was not my favorite idea at quarterback, but once they did it, I was glad they did it because I wanted them to take a quarterback, and that worked out great. So hopefully the not my favorite idea has a good track record here.
I mean, you got to look at it a couple ways, though. I mean, one is this goes hand in hand with what Beane's always done, which is he hates one-year guys, right? I mean, he always wants to get guys for a couple of years. And this, if you go with a Mike Evans, that might be a one-year rental, okay? And he doesn't like the one-year rental. And the other thing is this. I mean, really just how many chips do we have on the table to be able to push into the middle to make some kind of move? I mean, really, if you look at the assets we have and what we got, I mean, this really kind of goes hand in hand with what they got. Like, really, how much do we got to push into the middle? And it's not much.
Yeah. Well, I applaud that. I applaud that they are trying to win at all costs kind of right now. Like, to me, there's value in that. I would have traded a second for a player to do that. It would have been a different player maybe, but whatever. Like, if they win, they win. And they've been close.
I think the chips, the all-in, where I think we will really be able to measure how much of that is true for Brandon Beane is by how much cap space he's willing to create. It's not hard to get to $40 to $50 million in functional cap space, and DJ Moore is probably going to count $6.7 to $10 million against the cap this year. And so how much are you willing to create? I think that'll be my measuring stick for the all-in nature of Beane this year.
And the other thing is this, and this isn't, this might be a little bit harsh, but this has nothing to do with what we think, anybody in the comments thinks, or anybody in Bills Mafia thinks. Joe Brady's the new head coach. And if he wants DJ Moore, then he gets DJ Moore. That's how this thing works. If he's comfortable and he thinks that DJ Moore's the guy that he needs to get the Buffalo Bills over the top and in the Super Bowl, have at it. Because at the end of the day, like we've talked about many times, he's in the corner office now. The bullseye's on him, so he better be able to get the guys he wants. So feel some type of way about this, go ahead. But at the end of the day, it's his decision, and it's about making him comfortable and him having the guys to call the plays and get us where we need to be.
It's the Bill Squad Show. Get your comments in with us. We'll get a couple through and talk about what your concerns are or how excited you are about this DJ Moore deal. I want to get to right away because this is part of the point here. Charlie writes in that Jeremy goes from me. I will trade all our picks to now we need picks. Well, it's very important, the difference. So thank you, Charlie, for this comment, because what I've pushed for is that they should be more aggressive and trade up. And if you had said to me, what's a better use of your second round pick? Is it DJ Moore or is it trade up to make sure you can get Carnell Tate if he falls to 17 or Jordan Tyson? I would tell you the rookie quarterback the rookie receiver is a better value because you're saving, $30 million AAV. So I want those picks, but I want to weaponize those picks to save money, not to pick up huge contracts. So that's all. I mean, I'm glad the Bills have upgraded their receiver core, but if you just look around the league a little bit, like we can all celebrate that they've added. I think if you look around the league, there's a lot of reaction that thinks it's a risky move and maybe a desperate move, but desperation I think can sometimes be good for what it's worth. So I don't know. What you guys have a favorite reaction you've seen, or shrug one off? I mean, there's a little bit of an accusation that he quits on routes. That's out there. He famously ran out of bounds during a play and walked off the field. There's some concerns.
Was that under with Fields and before Ben Johnson got there, if I'm not mistaken?
Maybe it's a game in Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe with Fields, anybody could walk off the field. I mean,
here's something else too, and I guess I'm trying to make myself feel better by being devil's advocate today. So I'll be the devil's advocate guy. You look at this offense over the last so many years, and we've had not a zero type receivers production, or not very much over the last so many years, and it's done pretty well. How many points we score last year? 25 plus a game? Is that correct?
28.5, I think.
Right, 28.5. I love the fact that he went out and got a receiver, okay? Didn't like he gave up a second. We'll see if we can get that back, whatever. But is worrying about that side of the ball and being so hyper-focused on that side of the ball really what we should be concerned with? If you score 28.5 throughout the year in a game, shouldn't you be worried about having a defense and keep a team to 27? Maybe that's what we need to be looking at. Maybe that makes me feel a little better that let's get the defense better and keep teams under 28, because we're scoring 28 or 30 or whatever it is. We should be able to win most of these games, if not all of them.
I can understand where you're going with this, and that's very much what Beane said last year, right? Was, well, it's not the offense. We scored more than the Super Bowl champions last year.
Right.
It's the defense. And I think there's some truth to that. And I think because Josh Allen's your quarterback, your offense is always going to have a level of prolific scoring to it. It's the fascination of, well, what if it wasn't so hard to score 28?
Right.
I get like,
it.
Could we take some pressure off the defense?
Right. No, I get it.
And I don't know. It's fun. I enjoyed that Lions win last year or 2 years ago, the Rams win, where it's like, all right, let's go Josh blow for blow, and let's see if you can out haymaker Josh Allen. And I also think the defense is going to be better because I'm excited about what Jim Leonard's going to do here. But I think that Josh Allen is that piece of they're always going to score. They're always going to score because Josh Allen's the most prolific scoring machine the NFL has ever seen. It's just how hard is it going to be on him to do it?
Right. If we had a couple of receivers, we might average 40 a game.
I don't know. I think it might be a little bit more, but it's the process of how you get there. It's how you control games,
right.
A little bit more, as opposed to, all right, Josh, here it is, baby. He pop the spinach in, put the cape on. We got to have it. What if he just made a throw and some guy made a play,
Right.
Well, Jerry, I know you're playing devil's advocate. This specific talking point is among my favorite topics.
I know it is.
Because the old, we score how many points per game. You think Seattle's defense, right? Like Seattle, they allowed not a lot of points. They were a great defense.
Right.
They had to beat the Rams twice. What did they give up? They gave up a lot of points.
They did.
Once they gave up 37. Once they gave up 27 and had a drop in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, it would have been 34. What did the Seahawks need? Like, they had a great defense. They had a couple games where they needed a play.
Right.
And that's where the Bills are. Like, you don't have to convince me. Build the best defense you can. Be studs all over the field. You're going to get in the playoffs. You're going to play another great offense, and you're going to need dudes to make plays for your offense. Like, they've been right there. I think this defense has been good enough to win games that they have lost the last 3 playoff games, and their offense hasn't had a dude to make that play for Josh Allen. So, the points per game point is a good one in the regular season. You get in the playoffs, like, I want to see the game. I don't care. Did you have somebody make plays? And the Bills haven't. So hopefully DJ Moore can be that guy.
No.
All right. Connor McGovern. He was going to be the star of the show. Jerry's got some thoughts on Connor McGovern. We'll get to those when we return here on the Bill Squad Show. And again, line us up your comments. We'll dig through some of those. And as more DJ Moore information comes out, more trade chatter comes out, maybe is AJ Brown going to be on the move soon? We'll keep you posted on that here on the Bill Squad Show. This episode of Bill Squad brought to you by BetterHelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and recognize just how much they carry at work and relationships and families and in all the unseen roles they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength. It's just as important to make space for emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. So take a moment to celebrate a woman in your life who's had a lasting impact on you. Mom, sister, daughter, partner, best friend. Use that to make them feel a little bit better. So when it comes to better health, your emotional well-being matters. That's the women in your life, the men in your life. Make sure you're out there getting the help you need. And emotional well-being, you can find support with BetterHelp, the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, you can switch anytime. Therapy can help. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon. All right, we're back here on the Bill Squad Show. I just had a group chat send me a text that is, let's just say it's like one of those ones that looks like a reported trade. It isn't one yet. I'd be panicking about A.J. Brown on the move right away, but we'll see. We'll see. I expect more moves, right? I don't know if Brown's going to get moved. If it's a first and more, that's expensive, So,
well, and it's always kind of felt like New England was the team that would do it. They have resources.
Yeah.
They have the need. Of course, they released Diggs, familiarity with Mike Vrabel, but didn't he come out with the quotes a couple weeks ago about how you got to draft your receivers, right?
He did.
And so maybe that was a negotiating thing, but
I've got a weird feeling that's where Max is going to end up.
Crosby
or Hendrickson. I guess you could say Hendrickson's probably more of maybe a New England guy than Max, but I think that's where they freed up that money for
they'll
one
do
of those
something.
two.
Yeah, they have resources to improve, and they're going to try to do it. They just went to the Super Bowl, so we have to. I mean, look at the Jets. The Jets are the most resource-rich team in the league when it comes to draft and cap space, and so these teams are going to get better for sure.
All right, so let's talk Connor McGovern. Looks like the Bills will say goodbye. He expects them to because he told The Athletic he has not heard from the Bills since his exit meeting. So as he's set to hit the open market, it looks like Connor McGovern will, maybe go to the highest bidder, whatever, go to the right fit for him. Jerry, how did that hit you, hearing that the Bills have not been in contact with him?
It didn't shock me. That's what teams do. That's what front offices do. I don't think that Brandon Beane's going to put a ton of time into Connor McGovern if he already realizes he probably can't re-sign him. Maybe somewhere – I don't think this is a situation where even they let him go negotiate elsewhere and maybe he comes back. I mean, I think he knows he's going to be outpriced for Buffalo and they don't have the resources to bring him back. So, why waste the time and energy to do it? It was an interesting article. I think a lot of it was self-serving as far as, getting his own message out there. But one thing about the article I thought was interesting because I've been through it. He made such a big point to put out there where I had my hand broke and I'm no bad snaps and I played with a torn bicep and never came out. And I'm like, you're going to get respect from this is how this goes. Cause I've done it I came back from the tubular plateau in 10 weeks. You're going to get respect from your teammates. You're going to get respect from your coaches, and the front office doesn't care because their viewpoint is they're paying you anyway. So you should be out there. That's how they look at it. So you're never going to get any love and these all these accolades about, oh, he played hurt and everything else. I mean, that whole part was a little bit whatever, but no, I mean, why spend the energy when you know he's not coming back? So that didn't shock me at all.
Well, and we know that there's been contract conversations last year. Connor McGovern said it himself on a Cover One podcast that we talked, and I'm sure there was some dialogue at the exit interview. But what McGovern said is that since that exit interview, there has not been any contact, and so we'll see what happens in the coming days. I think we've always kind of been expecting that there's a good chance that he leaves, and now that it's seemingly going to happen, I'm not going to act overly surprised here. It does put the Bills in a spot because they need to solidify their plan at center and guard, but it seems like there's going to be some transition on this offensive line. I think Cedric Van Pran-Granger is going to have a great chance to succeed Connor McGovern, but I think everyone in the world would admit that he shouldn't just be handed that job. He's going to have to earn it. And so I'm curious to see what veterans they bring in to compete and how this offensive line comes together. But, certainly seems like Connor McGovern's out, and I think he's going to find what he's looking for on the market. I don't think that's going to be a challenge. There's a ton of need out there, and these centers are getting a ton of money, and so he'll find what he's looking for. I'm sure he'll be a good player, but it feels like the Bills are ready to transition.
Thinking about the transition they've had at center from Morse to McGovern and now to maybe a young player in Van Pran-Granger, or maybe there's somebody in the free agent market. They could decide to get the 6th or 7th highest paid center on the market. They could, I don't know. Would you guys be shocked if they went Linderbaum? Like really shocked?
Stunned. Yeah, I'd be stunned.
Okay.
Like passed out on the floor stunned.
Okay, because I just want to open up all ideas here.
Think about that image, Joe.
Well, just in part because what we just saw them do with DJ Moore, right? A 2nd-round pick is a big price to pay. That if you want to look at the bright side of this, you could say like, Beane's not messing around. He's trying to win it right now this year. Like that's why he trades a 2nd for a guy who can play on his team and be in the lineup. Now in free agent, and Moore's another example too, by the way. $24 million salary, $6 million cap hit. Linderbaum might get 24. You do it the right way, you can make it a $6 million cap hit if you really wanted to. I kind of want to open up any idea here, and maybe even some that would surprise us to a point.
One thing that I learned from Greg Thompson of Cover One yesterday, we were talking back and forth about year one cap hits. He says kind of the rule across the league is you take 60% of the AAV. So if you're trying to figure out what a year one cap hit is. Use that as your hack to get us in the right spot on that. But I struggle believing that the Bills will go big investments at certain spots because of the amount of spots that they have to fill. And I think there has to be an element of how do we find answers for everything? And if you go with a $22 million a year contract for Tyler Linderbaum, that's going to make it very difficult to get your answers at edge rusher and on the defensive line and at linebacker and safety. So I am curious to see what they believe in that maybe I'm not expecting them to believe in. Like maybe they look at Jordan Hancock and say, that's absolutely our starting safety next to Cole Bishop. Silly you for not believing that. And that's something we have to warm up to, or that they really think Javon Solomon's going to be a thing for this defense and it takes some of their pressure off of edge rusher. So that's the whole layer here is I feel like they have so much to figure out. And I think that makes it difficult for anything to be super splashy. I think they get some good players. There's no question. But in terms of big fish, I struggle thinking it's going to happen, especially now that they have this commitment to DJ Moore.
I think one thing that I am comfortable with is as far as with Brandon Beane and how it goes with him, he's done a very good job of finding offensive line talent that's inexpensive that has played well. We talked about, Edwards coming in and being a $6 million, $3 million a year guy, developed into now going to be the highest paid probably guard in free agency this year. McGovern comes in as a really just kind of a backup center, a little bit of a traveled guard with the Cowboys, comes in. Now all of a sudden he's going to make 15 to 17 million as a center. So, as much as we talked about Aaron Cromer, I think Beane has done a good job of finding guys to plug and play as far as that goes and then drafting accordingly. So I still think they need to pick one. I know we got holes, but they better find the time to pick one. And that's where this whole giving up a second-round pick kind of throws a wrench into all that. But, yeah, I mean, he's shown the ability to find good free agents, and, hopefully he's going to have to do it again here this season.
To put a point on DJ Moore here, guys, Albert Breer just pointing this out as a way to think about what the Bills have done. With the money for 2027 vesting next week, his salary becomes guaranteed for 2027 next year, and the Bills guaranteed $15 million for 2028 as well, in addition to his deal this year. So they trade for him, spin the money around, blah, 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 blah. Here's what they did. 3 years, $73.5 million for DJ Moore. So a second-round pick, and you get a fifth back. Second-round pick to pay 3 years, $73.5 million. That's just under $25 million per year. So if you do want to put it in context with what Mike Evans gets, Alec Pierce gets, Rashid Shaheed, like put those all up against 3 years, $73.5 for DJ Moore with a team option in 2029 for a fourth year. So for what it's worth,
I think it's a fair way to look at it. It's still, you just need him to age well. Like you need him to do what he's supposed to do and do it for 3 years.
Because you look at a lot of those receivers you brought up, like Shaheed and them, DJ Moore's a much better rounded wide receiver. It's not even close. Yeah. He's not a one-trick pony. This ain't go balls and return kicks. I mean, he can do everything. And I think Joe hit it on the head. It's one of these deals where he stays healthy and continues to trend like he has throughout his career. You got something.
Yeah, he's their best receiver since Diggs. That's for sure. I also want to bring up one more thing about what they could still do at the position. Our buddy Tyler Dunn, who he maybe is a little connected inside the organization, right? Maybe he knows what's going on. He had just posted that the Bills are going to swing it wide. He thinks they're going to take a big swing this offseason wide receiver. And then 2 days later, they trade for DJ Moore. All right. Maybe he's connected. He did write today, I don't think the Bills are done at receiver. So for what that's worth, to be continued. Could that be Hollywood Brown? Like, could that be a third-round pick? It could be a lot of things.
Sure. Well, right. And does it get to the point if there's another move? What if they do go out and still sign Romeo Dobbs or something like that? Would it come to the point where it's like, boy, I think they're overcorrecting now?
Well, you might already think. Do you know where they rank right now? I had this stat for you.
I do.
The Buffalo Bills rank in AAV to receivers in the NFL. Number one is Cincinnati. Number 2 is Buffalo.
Yeah.
It is now the second most expensive wide receiver room in the NFL.
What happens when they cut Curtis Samuels? It's still probably going to be pretty high.
Yeah, still pretty high.
Wow. Yeah.
So, hey, choo-choo, baby, right? Wide receiver train. Where's my – get out of here. I got my little tchotchke thing on wide receiver train. We got one today. Got DJ Moore. One more positive. He wears a cool number. Is number 2 available, Tyler Bass? Let's get Tyler Bass out of here. Get DJ Moore in the number 2.
It might have to be.
He can go number 1 if Curtis Samuel's out, right? Wasn't that what Curtis wore? So,
yeah, that's true. It's a good fast number.
What did he wear in Carolina? He was 2 in Carolina as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys subscribe to any sort of like number-based biases? Because I got a funny one for you here. Like, what number a receiver wears can change how fast they look. Do you buy any of that stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
If you wear 88, you look slow.
Okay, let me give you another one. You know why Romeo Doubs to me never pops? He wears 87.
With a Guardian cap on as well.
Yeah, it just doesn't look that fast when you're wearing 87. You're Gronk wearing 87. Yeah. So anyway,
see, now you sound like the kids. Like we would rather my son complaining about his knees being cut up all the time on the turf. But yet he subscribes to the school where he's going to roll his pants up to the middle of the thigh and walk around with, Lululemon looking shorts on when he plays.
He never played on that 90s Astro turf.
Oh, no, he does up in the Dome in Iowa. They sure do.
It can't be as bad as what you played on in the 90s.
Oh, it's not as bad.
That looked like a fake putting green on concrete.
Yeah, that's a little different. It's pretty close. But, no, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, do you want to look cool or do you want to, hurt all the time? So – hey, he might have a Guardian cap on. Take it off. You don't look cool, but, you might not remember your name in 3 years, but that's okay. Yeah. You're cool.
Well, anyway, it's been a big day here, Bill.
You think 88 is slow?
88, yeah. I agree. 88 and 87 are slow.
It's the slowest number. It's the big bubble. You want slim numbers.
The Playmaker wore 88. The Playmaker.
That's true.
Des wore 88. I mean, those
exactly. Slow. Mike Irvin. Yeah. I got it. Slow, man.
All right, what's the fastest number?
One.
Yeah, it's 1. It's
slim
numbers.
I feel like the teens are good. I like 14. I like 13s and 14s and 11s.
How about 81? Is 81 slow?
No, it's if you're going to be an 80s number,
81's
you
good.
have to be 81. That's the
81's good.
That's the
Julio
fastest.
Jones wears 11. 11's good. Anyway, let's just don't put DJ Moore in 87. Who wears 87 right now?
DJ's going to be the rate they're
going
with the cap. He's going to end up getting 2.
Give him 2. Yeah, because they might cut Tyler Bass. All right. We'll get a break in. We'll get back to your comments here in a moment. Bills swing big. I guess it's big. They tried a second-round pick. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a swing, but it was. We'll get your thoughts on it coming up here on the Bills Squad Show. Back here on the Bill Squad, Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the big O, Jerry Ostroski. Over 2,000 people streaming live, and you know it's a good controversial Bills topic because people are being mean to us in the chat. Be nice. Come on. It's football things, folks. Come on. Be nice. We got some good comments to get to if you want. Here's one. Do you think the Bills go receiver in the first round still? Could it happen? Listen, if they sign 7 defensive free agents, we might think it's right back on the board, right? We're filling out the chart and who goes where. They had John Franklin Myers. They had whoever. Arnold
Ebiketie.
Thank you, Ebiketie. Arnold Ebiketie. They all add all the pieces you like. There's the defensive back out of the Giants, like the guy that can flip inside outside.
Dane
What's
Belton.
his name?
Why?
No, Flott, something like that.
Oh,
Cam
Cordell Flott.
Cordell
I don't
Flott,
like pay him, but yeah.
I don't know. It could be a bit. Anyway, just they sign a bunch of pieces. We could get back to receiver in the first round. I think it's off the table till like the 4th, personally.
I think that's probably true. I mean, they've made a pretty big investment here. Josh Palmer's still around. Keon Coleman's still around. Khalil Shakir. I mean, add DJ Moore. That's 4 rostered receivers right there. And has Beane's only drafted Keon Coleman when it comes to the first 3 rounds? Is that true?
Yeah,
receiver. That's it.
It's the only drafted receiver. Yeah.
So based on his history combined with the current infrastructure, I would be surprised. I mean, certainly it could play out in a lot of different ways, but I would currently be surprised if that was the direction of the Bills' top pick.
I still think this now sets up the trade back. they'll sit there in case somebody just absolutely free falls from nowhere. And then after that, move back in and probably get one of these edge players in the second round that'll be available.
Next up, DeAndre writes in, do you think Moore could have a similar season to Diggs' first few seasons with the Bills? Production-wise, I don't. But instant and early chemistry with Allen, like I'm going to leave space for that. That'd be great. But Diggs was, and then I feel like we could get to this point, like it's oversold what kind of receivers they need. I don't think they need prime Diggs. I don't think they need a true number one and must do everything possible for number one. For a while, they've needed better options, and that's what Moore is. Moore's a better option. So they've definitely upgraded, and they're good there, but I'm not anticipating that he's going to come in at age 29 and be prime Steph Diggs, who was like a top 3 guy in the league.
Well, you got to look at it this way. Are we going to still continue? Is this everybody eats still, or is this everybody eats until we sell out of food? You know, with DJ Moore, I don't think they brought DJ Moore in to be the marquee guy that commands all the catches. Just a better option within this everybody eats model, so to speak.
I mean, if it's the $73.5 million that was it Albert Breer or that put out
3
there,
years, 73.5. Yep.
What is that? 24.5 a season? That's a lot. That's Nico Collins money. I think you're expecting every bit of 70 to 90 catches out of DJ Moore. Like there's an expectation for utilization based on that contract.
Did you see Alec Pierce on that today? He kind of said a thing with Kay Adams. He said, if I get, one of the things I'm excited about in free agency is wherever he signs, he thinks I'm going to get more targets. I get signed for big money. I'm not an 84 target guy. I'm going to get more involved in this offense. And even went so far as to say, the math says he should. I like that if that's possible. If Moore is good enough to just be the we turn to you when we need a play guy, and he and Allen have that connection, then to me that's mission accomplished. The question is, can he become that guy? But I don't feel, guys. I feel like everybody eats stopped getting said after the deadline when they wanted Waddle and they were looking. People kind of stopped saying everybody eats. I didn't hear the Bills say it in the last 2-3 months of the season.
Joe, to help you out a little bit, last year he had 50 receptions, but before that in 24 he had 98 and 96 and 23. So he did command the ball quite a bit before this last season.
DJ Moore, he's had big seasons. I mean, they paid him as a 4-year, $110 million contract extension in 2024. Right. I mean, it's not. I just feel like we should calibrate our expectations to believe there's a lot of volume that's going to be going to DJ Moore. We just said he's the best receiver the Bills have. It's the best one they've had since Diggs. I love what Jeremy's saying. Like there needs to be that element of, hey, we need a play. You're the guy we go to and you make it. But if you're that guy, I think there's just naturally going to be production that comes with it. And so, yeah, I think you can allow yourself to get excited about DJ Moore, Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir as your top 3 options in the passing game. I think it's pretty good.
And it's funny, this time of year, guys, is when we talk about best practices and strategies and surplus value and what to do with picks and all that. But that, then we get to games and it's just try to win the games. So as much as, we might hem and haw over the price they paid for DJ Moore, and I'm sure Bills fans will have justifiable concerns, they've never hung a Super Bowl banner anywhere that said, but they didn't do it with all smart trades. The banner's the banner. Flags fly forever. The Rams, when they went bleep them picks and went out and got Beckham, and people didn't think it was the smartest thing, but they won and they got to just hang their hat on that. So, process is great. Winning's better.
I think that's what you said right there, Jeremy, is the reason the conversation is the way that it is around the Bills. They haven't won the whole thing. And so because of that, I think there's competitive tension amongst the fans. There's competitive tension amongst Beane and McDermott. Now McDermott's gone. And so that's the missing piece to all of it. All of the questions go away when you put up the trophy in the air. They got to put up the trophy and then we'll stop asking the questions. Yeah. But until that happens, everyone's going to have the things that they think are most important that they're going to champion, and it's going to lead to kind of some tense conversations, a little bit of fan anxiety, if you will.
Yeah, it's tense. It's
tense. Josh Allen turns 30. I get it. I feel this. I there's that piece of me that's just is this going to happen or not? And you feel like you want everything that happens to add up to holding up that trophy. But until the trophy's up, I think we're going to continue to have these kind of tense conversations.
Should we consider that the Bills are saving their first-round pick for a Max Crosby trade? Can I give you an update on Max Crosby? Trey Wingo, moments ago, has tweeted, things are moving fast for Max Crosby. Last night, Dallas thought they were close to a deal. Then other teams raised the ante and potentially are offering the Raiders 2 firsts.
Oh, boy.
Expected Dallas to shift their focus to Trey Hendrickson. So teams offering 2 firsts for Max Crosby, which, all right, let's have a fun little conversation just for a moment. If Beane were to offer 2 firsts for Crosby and in the same day land Crosby and Moore and sign off, not drafted this year, if they win, great. And if they don't win, people would say, like, he did everything he could for self-preservation. Right? All right, like, forget those picks. I just need these players. Whatever.
I think people would mostly like that. I don't know if I would. I have to like spend some time praying about that, but I think that people would mostly love that, and I think they would say even if it doesn't work, he did everything.
He tried.
He put
he
it
tried
all
his
out.
best.
They were all out there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it would be looked at that way. For somebody like me, it would. I mean, I'd be stressed out because after that whole thing, it just would be. We'd be in shambles for a while after the whole thing was cleared out. As far as if we won one, then so be it. We can be in shambles with our gear on that says Super Bowl champions, and that'd be fine. But it would take a lot then to restructure this thing and get it back in shape after all that.
Yeah. It's fun times. One more comment here. We're never happy. Everybody wanted a number 1 receiver. Now we got one. We gave too much. I can guarantee if we drafted a wide receiver with our second round pick, it'd be 10 times worse than DJ Moore.
At least it'd be 10 times cheaper.
I mean, it might be 20. It might be 20 times cheaper. And I don't think you can guarantee it'd be bad. I mean, it depends who it is. But hey, DJ Moore, that's part of the point, I think. Proven commodity. I came into this offseason thinking Beane will not do it with just a draft pick. He's going to want a proven commodity. And he's shown he's more likely to trade a first 3-round pick for a receiver than he is to use it on a receiver. The body of work says it. He's 4-1. 4-1 now. All right. DJ Moore to the Bills. We'll continue to hear the fallout. When we're back on Monday, it's free agency. It's the legal tampering period.
I cannot wait.
I mean,
it's my favorite time of the year. This whole thing, when it hits the legal tampering, I am like glued to everything. This is why I have multiple screens in my office. I got an iPad. I cannot wait.
Yeah, good on the Bills giving us a little appetizer here. This DJ Moore thing kind of shapes all of our conversations there. So, all right, DJ Moore to the Bills. We'll, of course, be back on Monday, have many more things to talk about, maybe more trades, maybe more signings, but an exciting time of year to follow. So make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Bills channel so you're getting Joe's content every day. Going to have a full breakdown of DJ Moore, I'd imagine, Joe, like what this means for them.
We're going to do our mock off season tomorrow. It's going to be a double drop that I have to redo now. I was ready to go, man. I was going to finish this recording and get to recording that and get it ready to go for tomorrow. And now we got to go back to the drawing board because, didn't have this on the bingo card. So that'll be available tomorrow. And we obviously daily, tons of content.
There you go. Follow Joe Beane every day or make sure you're listening to Locked On Bills. Until Monday, when the legal tampering period begins, and we're going to have some breaking stuff live to the show. We'll talk to you Monday, 1:30. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Much love, folks. Go Bills.